I don't even know any other way to start this besides talking about the GOAT in John Jones and his fantastic win over Surreal Gane at UFC 285. And I wish like I had like an elaborate intro, but there's really nothing that you could say. This wasn't like a war of a fight. This wasn't like a 5 round battle. It was a 1 round ass whooping, and John Jones was handing it out to Surreal Gane, and it just looked. I don't know if Surreal just folded in the moment or if like that hand injury that you were hearing about was real, but I just don't like how people have been playing like the Monday morning quarterback with Surreal and just being like, oh, well, he was only good at kickboxing, blah, blah. Like, you weren't saying that coming into the fight, so don't say it now. But John Jones wiped the floor with him, and like the only thing that I wanted like really get off before I let you kind of like tell me your thoughts is just I think needs to be said about John Jones's like fight IQ again because we mentioned it so much in the build up, but just how he talks about knowing fighters' tendencies and like knowing their first, second, third, fourth favorite things to do on certain combinations, and judging by that sequence that led to the takedown, the way that like Jones threw that punch and the way like Gon kind of turned his back to him, and like just how fast that John Jones got to his back, I feel like he had to know that he was gonna move like that. And I just think that his study of opponents and like when he's really motivated, there's nobody that can really touch him right now. And I just that's the best fighter I've ever seen. That's the only way I could put it. And I've told you before, like it was always John Jones, GSP. I always lean towards GSP, but with this, like John Jones, no doubt, best fighter of all time. So I don't know what your thoughts were on the main event. It obviously didn't last too long.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just glad we got to see it finally happen, the return of the one and only John Jones. But now that, and then how, like, anticlimactic, too, in a way. Like, I think, no, I don't think anybody saw that fight ending as fast as it did.
No.
But I think I think the dominance of John Jones just straight up, you can't really be all that surprised just of who it is. But, now that we have seen it and it's now we gotta have an eye towards the future. It's like I guess we'll I wanna let's just speak on like the heavyweight division as a whole and then maybe like Surreal Gone in particular like what he will might be in his future and all that. But dude, heavyweight man, like now like you can really see how much of like now like John Jones is at the top. It's like well like this is a I don't think this division has ever been like this. Just like just so like I don't even want to
It
say
just feels
wide
interesting
open.
again because John Jones is like
It's
new
just an
blood and nobody's fought him.
well yeah
So
because of how unprecedented the Francis Ngannou leaving uh as the champion you know came to be and like how we won't see the fight between him and John Jones
can we
which
talk about that real quick? 'Cause there's one thing that someone even brought up to me like after the fight that I thought about that kind of like rubbed me the wrong way that Francis like did, and I get why he's doing it. He's got a market, but he was like saying the thing like, "Oh, good fight, John." Like, sincerely, the heavyweight king. But I'm like, you can't be talking shit like you didn't get offered that fight. Like, I understand why Francis left, and we talked about it on the show. Obviously, we both supported it, and I still do. But it just that rubs me the wrong way, like talking crap to a guy who you had the opportunity to fight and you didn't. And I think he still does obviously have the claim to that throne, but at the same time, when you had the power to fight this guy who you're trying to slight, you didn't. And for that reason, it's just like keep his name out of your mouth. I think that's just how I feel about it.
yeah.
I don't know how if you disagree or because I would understand it if you did disagree, but that's just like my opinion on it.
Well, I mean, yeah, like it's kind of like a connection in a way because, Francis Ngannou and Silgan, in terms of the wrestling, like clearly, like there's still like a lot of, there's still work to be done with them. Like they're far from perfect in that department. Like you literally saw it with the fight between him and Silgan and Ngannou too. Like,
It was the worst grappling match I've ever seen.
yeah, and yeah, for Ngannou to win it that way, like it came very clear, and so like it just in a way got me thinking like I think we gotta look at I'm never one to question a coach. That's not what I'm doing here either. But I just had like the curiosity in my head, like Fernand Lopez, like maybe I want to see how people maybe view him as opposed to Cyril Gane, because I saw Cyril Gane getting like a bunch of like it was yeah he was getting pretty disrespected and like the hate and stuff like
yeah, all of a sudden he's not very good, like
yeah
and
like,
it just pisses me off too because it takes away from John Jones, and I do want to get into the Fernand Lopez point that you're bringing up because I think it's a good one, but just like back to John Jones for a second before we do, like I hate how people they don't even mean to do it, like how they're diminishing what he's done here. Like John Jones has been dominant for multiple generations at this point in MMA. Took off for 3 years and came back, fought the number 1 ranked heavyweight in the division and wiped the floor with them. Like nobody thought it was going to be like that. And me and you definitely kind of favored him a bit here, but I don't think either of us thought this was going to be a first round guillotine in like 2 minutes.
No,
it's
not
just
at all.
crazy. And you're right to kind of bring up Cyril Gane's like coaching in a way, because I've seen like a little bit of it, but definitely not.
Look, yeah, that's the thing. Like fans they want to wait. Like they don't, they want to wait until afterwards to be so outspoken and like.
Yeah, Monday morning quarterbacking is the best thing in MMA. They don't even realize that they do it sometimes. But
yeah, that wasn't right to me, seeing all like the slight that Cyril Gane was getting. So then that got me thinking, like, with Ngannou, and, Cyril Gane, Ngannou, Fernand Lopez. I decided to type in Fernand Lopez's name in the Twitter search bar. I saw a lot of French fans, like, coming at him because, like, yeah, like, it makes sense. Like, they're going to be the ones to actually, like, if they want to, like, call something out for one of their guys, like, they'll do it. But, yeah, that got me, like, yeah, that wasn't really all that fair to me. I think it's like, is it like to propel, and it's not even like to propel John Jones, it's like to keep, a guy like Cyril Gane down, I guess, because, obviously.
Yeah, because it didn't even seem like they were trying to diminish what John Jones did. They were just saying that Cyril didn't deserve to be in there with him. And I'm like, that's not true, because Cyril Gane will mess up any other heavyweight really in that division almost, I'd say. His grappling has turned into a problem. And to get to like the coaching thing too, one of the things that I've thought of, and like you obviously brought up Francis, I think about like when Francis did train with him, like in the initial rise of his career, the thing that you always heard about Francis is that he barely wrestled.
Yeah.
And that was his big flaw until he went to Vegas. And like now it seems like that same thing is playing out in Cyril Gane. Like Fernand Lopez, I don't know much about him, and I'll admit that. So take this with like a grain of salt, but we're just obviously, like you said, you just brought it up because you saw it. And I don't know, like it's just from seeing those two high profile fighters that have come out of his gym, and considering they both have like the exact same flaws, it calls it into question a little bit. And I'm not saying he doesn't know what he's doing. Like I think he's one of the better coaches in the game, considering he just led 2 fighters to the heavyweight like crown pretty much. So it's a tough spot. Like, I don't know. And you can't, maybe it's not even his fault, because you got to think about it too. In France, it's not like France is this big wrestling country. So maybe that's just not his focus. And I don't know if that's really his fault in particular, but Cyril Gane has a grappling issue. And I think that that's like the main point, whether it's his fault or not, he needs to fix it.
Yeah, and John Jones pretty much called that out too for the fight, calling him the most incomplete fighter in the division. And we were talking about it too on, in the preview, how ahead, mentally he is like ahead of everybody. So like, you can't really be like, maybe how fast and dominant it was, yeah, but it's John Jones. It's still John Jones at the end of the day, who's now a heavyweight. Like he's back, awesome. But
can you guess who John Jones's last first round finish was against?
Last first round finish.
Yeah, just one guess. We won't hold it up too long with this, but I'm just curious to see if you could think of it and get it.
Chael Sonnen?
Yeah, UFC 159. I think that's like what, 2013? Let's see. I'm gonna look it up. Let's see if I got that right. Oh, look at that. April 27th, 2013. Co-main event: Michael Bisping and Alan Belcher. Roy Nelson versus Czech Congo. Phil Davis, Jim Miller. God, I miss these people. Well, not Jim Miller. Jim Miller's still gracing us with his presence. Hope he's doing all right, by the way. He had that eye thing
Yeah.
I heard about. But anyway, back to
No, yeah,
Jones and
dude.
Gane.
So I really just like got thinking about the heavyweight division as a whole afterwards. Because a guy like Cyril Gane, like once again, I think it's just so important to it, and like just how his style has like just brought that that elevation to it, and it's now like dang, like he really just like got now it's like John Jones is back, and now all of a sudden it just cancels that out, and now it's like man, like you're still waiting on a guy like Aspinall to return, Francis Ngannou's gone, and like now we're talking about 40-year-old Stipe Miocic and John Jones getting there. Now, if you even want to put any stock into this, when John Jones is obviously brimming with absolute confidence in his call out to Stipe.
Yeah, it was like a sparring match for him. He finished that so quick.
And then Stipe, when they cut the camera to him, he's just sitting there like, oh man, like this is gonna have to happen. Like he's still calling me the greatest heavyweight of all time. Like
you can't be calling for a title like Stipe does, and then when the champion calls you out, you can't back down. I doubt he would too. Stipe's a bad motherfucker, dude.
And then even Cyril Gane's face right after the finish, just sitting
looked like
up
he was in
against
awe.
the fence, like he's like, yeah, like man, like yeah, this dude John Jones really is still that dude. So
crazy.
I mean, it was just wild. Just thinking, it's like wow, like heavyweight man, like disarray, I would say, the division, and just like chaos right now. It's like man, it's like John Jones might like not give up this title until like he feels like it.
It is crazy to think about. Like I just can't believe it. It's
and
hard
then
to
a guy
fathom.
like Cyril Gane too. It's like man, like dude, it's like it's so hard to believe. But it's like there's no way this. I was like, it's so hard to believe that this guy like he might get resorted to like a gatekeeper status.
It's a weird spot to be in because he's fought for the title now twice really in the past year and a half, and
Yeah.
it's tough. Like I don't know who you really match him up
He's
against.
just so like talented. It's crazy, and it's like man, it's
Just
like,
gotta improve that grappling. If anything, take some time. Let the division like shake out a little bit.
yeah.
Like you've already fought everybody near the top. You fought Jones now. Like he's not getting a title shot anytime soon, I would imagine. So maybe take some time off and really like perfect that grappling, because there's plenty of people coming for John. Whether it be Stipe probably in July, you still got Curtis Blades who deserves it. He's
There's
fighting
plenty of people
Pavlovich.
coming for John, but it's not. It's literally just of who's gonna be the one to actually take out John.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone can do it.
After last night, dude, man, yeah.
Like there's still questions that need to be answered. Like this fight only lasted like a couple minutes, so who knows what John Jones at heavyweight's gonna look like in rounds 4 and 5. But then at the same time, if he's murking dudes like this, what difference does it make? It doesn't matter if you can go all 5 if you can finish people like that.
Dude, and this is all including like a low blow in the first 7 seconds of the fight.
Wasn't that a little anticlimactic? Like usually the hype is there and
Yeah.
it starts, and first kick just right in the balls. Poor John. He was dancing pretty nice though after the fight, considering he got
Dude.
kicked in the balls a couple
Oh my
minutes earlier.
goodness,
Little boogie.
know.
He's getting going. You think he got lit after his after party? He said he was trying to hug some fans and not drink. Dana was happy about that. I don't know if you saw it in the press conference and they were talking when the Schmo asked him. He's like, I will not be getting lit after
Yeah,
UFC 285. Dana's like, amen.
Yeah, dude, he's here to stay, and then we're gonna see who's gonna be the one to, I guess, even come close to taking that belt off of him.
You think there's a point if he beats like Stipe and maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 more people at heavyweight, he'll be probably 38, 39 at that point? Do you think there's ever a point where he just walks away, or do you think it takes him losing first?
I think just judging literally just based off of last night, like it might just be till he until he just decides to like just hang it up. Yeah.
It's. I mean, I get it.
like,
Like after a performance like that.
No, that's just my wallet. But yeah, that's why I say what I say about the division as a whole now. Because like coming into the fight, like okay, John Jones obviously never fought a heavyweight, and after a 3-year layoff, and Cyril Gane, is only so experienced like in the UFC altogether, and 1-1 in his last 2 fights as well. Like you gotta take that with a grain of salt. So now, and then for the fight to go how it did, now it's like, oh my goodness, it's like dude.
Bones is back.
Yeah, dude. This
I'm
John
hyped.
Jones just took the toughest division straight by the horns, and now, like, we really have to question like who's gonna be the one to
See, I,
beat
I
him.
love this because I know, like, for you, Adesanya was, like, the main guy who really, like, helped you get into the sport a
Yeah,
lot. But for me, I remember being in middle school and in high school for the rematch, like, watching Jones and Cormier. And, like, that was kind of, like, what led me to get more into it. And, like, obviously during that span is when Connor started to rise, too. Ronda Rousey was still around. So the UFC was, like, really starting to boom. And that, like, he's the reason why I watch the sport. So just to see him come back and show people, and it was awesome too, seeing like all the people who had said I've never seen a John Jones fight live until now, and like now I get it, like what this dude is made of, because I just he's so great. Like it's unbelievable. Like you think about his talent level and
yeah.
how he's wiped the floor with
He
like
really
elite
is. He's
people.
just one step ahead of everybody.
Yeah, but then even when he's not, like you got the fights like Vitor or Gustafsson, when he faces that adversity, he just
Yeah.
finds ways to win. It's just incredible. And this man hasn't lost like a real. I mean, yeah, he has the loss on his record. We talked about that last week. It's a bit of an odd one because it's not really a loss. But I don't know who beats this guy. But I kind of, and I'll tell you this. Like, tell me what you
Well,
think.
yeah, and it makes you think too. It's like, well, I mean, obviously, heavyweight, the division as a whole, the top 15 and all that, like, is isn't where it was like it is now, but it makes you think like, dude, like he could have been moved up to heavyweight and probably became the champion.
I think he definitely could have at any point. I mean, he's John Jones. Just for me though, I'm curious to see what you think of this, but like I kind of disagree in the sense that I feel like for him to go away from the sport, he's gonna have to like go out on that string of losses because for me, one of the things that I thought of coming into this was just how Gane is like this jolly, like happy-go-lucky kind of guy, but John Jones has like that real, like mean streak, like warrior spirit to him,
Yeah.
and he's just a competitor. Like that's what he is. I just feel like if he thinks that he can still do it, he's gonna do it, whether he says he is or he's not.
That's
Because
yeah,
I know he's
dude.
talked about hanging it up, but at the same time, I feel like he's if he sees somebody he knows he can beat. Like
That's like once again like that's still think it's like you really don't want another vacant heavyweight title, but if like John Jones like he has to hang it up at some point, and if nobody is still able to beat him at a whole new division,
he's
and a
got a
whole
few
new era
years.
and everything, you know, like it's just yeah, there's just gonna be no other
I
choice.
mean, he's 35 now. He'll fight Stipe probably in July. You know, you give him two or three more fights. Like I said, he'll probably be 38 around the end of that, maybe 37. I don't know how many fights he wants. He's really been kind of
It's
just Stipe,
dude,
and
it's so
we'll see.
crazy. Like I don't like man. Heavyweight division has just always been that division. It's like any given Saturday night, like that title can change hands when it's on the line. Now it's like oh my goodness, like they're man, it's gonna really take a special somebody to take.
Last thing about John Jones, and then we'll move to the co-main event. But I liked how his speed looked because Gane's fast and he's gonna look fast in there against anybody. But I liked how fast he was slipping. Like he didn't look any slower to me in that little span. They were on the feet, but like even the level change and the timing of it, he looked good. Like I didn't see anything different about him. I don't know about what you if you agree or disagree with that,
No,
or
yeah,
maybe
I mean
small
not
sample
really.
size, but
Yeah, I mean, yeah, once, yeah, like you just said, it's not like there was much to really, you know, to judge and like that, anyways. And then obviously the low too playing its part, but the second the Cyril gone, the very second Cyril gone even slightly turned his back, it's just from
on it.
there. And then, for him to get him set up against the cage like that, like you wouldn't, there was like, it did not cross my mind for a second that at least when Cyril Gane was sat up against the cage, like there was that John Jones was gonna be able to finish it like that right then and there.
It was weird
Not
because they
that
didn't even
Cyril
hand
Gane,
fight it.
not that I thought Cyril Gane like would get back up and just get right back to a standing battle, but I just thought from there, all right, like man, John is really probably just gonna put a lot of damage on him here. For him to just slip the guillotine that smoothly and that, you know, that powerful, just like that, and get the tap, like, man, it really caught me like by surprise. And it's hard. That's even crazy to say, caught me by surprise, knowing like who it is that did it. But that dude, John Jones, man, he just keeps dominating the sport.
Yeah, through thick and thin, honestly. He's something else. But, we thought, I would say, that Valentina Shevchenko was going to be dominating for years to come. But then Alexa Grasso comes in the co-main event and tells us, no, the new champ is here. And she looked good, like, throughout the whole fight.
Yeah.
Even in the beginning, she was landing shots. I don't know how you scored those early rounds. They were all pretty close. But once it kind of got...
Oh, I think, yeah, I mean, it's clear now, but I think that was definitely the key to beating Valentina Shevchenko. Like, you have to take the fight to her, like, straight from the get-go. You gotta overwhelm her on the feet however you can, because obviously on the ground, like, most of the time that's gonna be her game. But except for round 4
that
of
was
this
just a
fight.
bad position. I mean, we could talk about that. That spinning back kick was one of the worst decisions we've seen in a minute by a champion.
Yeah, dude. And it's crazy too, because that's not like Alexa Grasso was just, it's not like she had every round won clearly and decisively just like that. Like, it was a close fight, and then that first round once again, like, was, very convincing on Alexa Grasso's end. But oh my goodness, like, I mean, I think with Valentina, like, I think she realized, like, all right, you're just gonna have to fight the boring fight, like, she's gonna have to get Alexa on the ground, stay on her, and then that's it. Like, just at this point, like, by any means necessary. But oh my goodness, like, yeah, like you just said, like, I don't know what it was that prompted her to go for that, but Alexa Grasso just straight
Shocked the world.
shocked the world.
I love it, though. I love upsets like that in MMA. Busted a lot of parlays, that's
dude.
for sure.
Oh
Got a
my
couple
God.
messages about Valentina.
Mexican mixed martial arts is taking over.
Yeah, we need a UFC event in Mexico City with those 3 champs, like, pronto. So let's get to it. But I don't know how much we can really talk about the fight itself, just because, I think there is, like, things to talk about, but at the same time, my main takeaway from it is just this question: are the rumors of, like, Valentina seeming to be on the decline? Like, do you think there's anything to that, or do you think that Alexa Grasso is just that girl?
That's a really good question, actually. Because, I mean, nobody was. I think a lot of people were actually overlooking Alexa Grasso, and just straight looking like to future contenders and all that. Because I think everyone was in agreement that Valentina Shevchenko was just gonna win with ease, and then maybe even not with ease, just win one way or another, and then.
Chael Sonnen said before the fight on Ariel's show that Valentina Shevchenko is fighting this weekend, and I do not know who her opponent is, and I do not mean that to be funny. Like, that's what he said. Like, I love the way he just delivers it, and I do not mean to be funny. But then he said he doesn't have a black belt, and I don't know who she is.
Dude, it really is, like, interesting, because you brought up that episode of the MMA Hour that, funny enough, Valentina Shevchenko was on too, and then
you were asking her about lakes. She's talking to us like we're in kindergarten. That Chael interview was top tier. I enjoyed that so much.
I want to see more of it.
Yeah, man, we need that.
In her interview, she's talking about, like, obviously given the right answer to that championship, like, not over, because Ariel was asking her about, like, even Ariel was, like, asking beyond Alexa Grasso, and was like, all right, because not looking past Alexa Grasso, like, focus on this fight this Saturday right now. And it made you, like, I guess even it's like now after it happens the way that it did, it makes you even, like, think it's like, was she even, like, because Valentina has that edge to her too, where, like, because she had some things to say about Alexa Grasso herself too, like, just Alexa Grasso just put in the confidence out there, obviously, that she should have, and then Valentina was just, like, obviously, like,
she's like, I know her fears.
Yeah, like,
scares me, dude. The shit that she says, like, she's not really a shit talker, but when she like just drops those little lines and
Yeah,
you're
like
man, she might be
just
psychotic.
has that that champion's edge to her.
Yeah, she's like John Jones in that way. She has like the mean streak and that competitive nature. Except John Jones, he kind of leans into it a little more than Valentina does. But Valentina wants to win, dude. Like she's competitive. She's as competitive as it
Dude,
gets. I'm exhausted.
yeah.
I said this to you before the pod, but like
Yeah.
staying up until like 1:30 in the morning, 2 o'clock for the
Yeah.
post fight show and stuff like that. I'm out of it. But
Dude,
it was
yeah,
worth it.
it makes you think like maybe even Valentina like overlooked Alexa Grasso, and I mean like once again going back to that first round, like you could say like it was the most evident in that first round because dude, Alexa Grasso like she really took it to her in that early on in that fight, and it looked for a second like whoa, like she could put this away like any second because if it does go to the scorecards then it's a pretty good chance that it's gonna go to Valentina, but
I think this though. I was saying this with the people I was watching yesterday, but I feel like MMA versus boxers on the feet or MMA Muay Thai versus boxing in like MMA is kind of like the striking version of wrestling versus jiu-jitsu, because Muay Thai is good in its ways, but it's kind of like front to back. Boxing, you're moving around. There's like more footwork involved with it, and that sometimes can be better. Even if like Valentina's the more technical striker, like you were kind of saying, sometimes when you're pressing the action and coming at her from like different angles, that can like confuse people. And I don't know if it confused her, but I just think that the speed and just the angle she was coming in at, just I don't know what the deal was. Just Valentina didn't really deal with it well in round one, and from there she seemed like she just wanted to take it to the ground. So it was interesting.
Oh my god! And then it still went to the ground, but in Alexa Grasso's favor. Like who the hell saw rear naked? I would love to know the odds on Alexa Grasso's submission finish.
Definitely low, but I will say this, that like doesn't happen 9 times out of 10. Like that's why I said that spinning back kick that she threw was like the biggest mistake that she made, because if she didn't throw that wouldn't have happened. She landed in a horrible position.
So yeah, and then that raises the question again that you asked, like is Alexa Grasso actually the one, like truly like, the one that, should have beaten Shevchenko and now she's going to be the new dominant women's flyweight champion, or was it just not Valentina's night?
Well, I'll give you a peek into my psyche a little bit. The reason why I asked you is because I have no idea, and I was just curious to see what your opinion of it was. I think we need to see the rematch in order to figure that out, and it seems like that's what's coming next.
Oh my goodness, that absolutely just shook up the division.
Put it in Mexico City.
Yeah,
and Brandon Moreno, like come on.
I mean, to raise another flyweight contender who we're obviously giving her shine and talking about not too long ago, and Erin Blanchfield. Like I think for her, now like obviously like her opportunity has to probably get put on hold for a little longer, but I think like her watching that, she was probably like pretty encouraged, or
she was like, yeah, like I'm not getting the titles until like December.
Probably like hoping like Alexa Grasso's the one that she can face for it, but she obviously wanted to be the one to take the title off of Valentina, and that obviously didn't happen. So
I'll say that she's probably licking her chops at either at this point, because now she just saw what Alexa Grasso did.
Once again, I don't know. It just raises the question again, maybe it just wasn't Valentina's night, and now let's see the rematch. Let's definitely see the rematch.
Yeah, and we'll see how long it takes. I think if Blanchfield does want to take a fight in the meantime, though, we could rebook that Santos fight, and things are back tip-top shape. We got a number one contender fight, a big one. I'd be excited for that.
Man, women's flyweight has to be one of the most definitely one of the most exciting divisions right now.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought that years ago? But that was a great fight. I think we do have to wait for that rematch, but one fight that the fight itself was incredible. It was razor close pretty much until the end. Shavkat Rakhmonov defeats Jeff Neal by rear naked choke almost at like the very end of the fight, extending probably the craziest streak that I've seen in MMA, which is a 17 fight finish streak. Not winning streak. Well, it is a winning streak, but finish streak.
Yeah.
17-0 Shavkat Rachmanov beats Jeff Neal, who missed weight by like 4 pounds, which is unfortunate. And they put on the fight of the night. Just what did you think of Shavkat in that performance? Because that was a big stage for him, and I thought he pretty much delivered, even though it was obviously closer than people were expecting.
Oh yeah, it's awesome, dude. Like people are, I think people are already paying attention. Like you truly, or at least for the welterweight division, you truly are like keeping tabs on this division and stuff. Like you knew like Shavkat Rachmanov was a guy to you gotta watch out for, and like one of these days he's gonna be he's probably gonna be competing for that belt, at least like one of these top 5, these guys in the top 5. And now it's as clear as day. Like Dana White's now talking about a fight with Colby Covington.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening though.
Yeah,
and I think Dana even said that.
Yeah, at least, but the principle, at least, it's like, all right, now he's here. He's talking. We're putting his name. Even with names like Colby Covington. So super encouraging. Like it's awesome. This guy is an absolute machine. He deserves the recognition and the shine. And yeah, man.
How many fights away from the title do you think he is? Because the welterweight division is a little long.
Yeah, especially man, I guess it just depends on who you give him, pretty much. And obviously too, having to wait for the Leon Edwards and Usman trilogy to happen. But yeah, dude, like I hope not long, because now, like, once again, like he's and then obviously this fight being put on the main card, rightfully so. Like he's
main
got
card Shavkat.
Yeah. he's got the eyeballs now and the attention that he deserves. So I hope not long. Definitely not long.
Yeah, man. What's one fight that I kind of thought of? I want to say it was this morning, and it's definitely not gonna happen, I don't think, but I would love to see it. Him versus Wonder Boy, because Wonder Boy is definitely not as good of a grappler as Shavkat, but I'd like to see how Shavkat would have to deal with that range, because if Jeff Neal was tuning him up a tiny bit at points on the feet, imagine what a guy like Wonder Boy could do on the feet.
And Rachmanov, he's just naturally one of these guys. It's like it's just hard to book, because just nobody wants to fight him. Nobody wants to put their number on the line against him. And especially for him to still get the submission finish against the guy who came in overweight, like, yeah, dude.
He really jumped on his back so quick at the end there. That was incredible.
Yeah, absolutely the real deal.
And he got a picture of Laura Sanko after. I thought that was good. Good for him. Yeah. Happy for him. That's amazing. Obviously, dude, me and Jim have the one picture with Laura Sanko. It's a quality picture. I enjoyed that. That was Jim's first weekend of knowing who she was.
Yeah, what's the name of the fur hat?
I don't know. Is there? I don't even know.
I love how he.
What would I look up?
He just has one for.
I'm gonna look up Shavkat fur hat. We're gonna see what comes up.
I love how he just has one for everybody.
Here it is, the origins. Finally, all right, perfect. Thank you, MMA Fighting. It's a wolf skin.
Wolf skin.
That's pretty badass. Let's see.
Yeah, this dude's a killer.
It's a traditional Kazakh headdress that our ancestors used to wear during the winter times to keep themselves warm. Myself, I feel like it's a very beautiful headdress, and wearing it, I get to represent my roots, represent my culture and tradition. Traditionally, this headdress is usually made out of wolf or fox skin. That's interesting. I like that. I like little origin stories that.
Yeah.
Did not know. Wolf skin. And he's from Kazakhstan. He probably hates Borat. I've heard that people from Kazakhstan aren't big fans of Borat, and I understand.
About it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, his sister was the number 6 prostitute in the city. Oh man, shout out to Borat. But we'll move on to the next fight before we offend the whole nation. We'll talk about Mateusz Gamrot winning by split decision over Jalen Turner. First thing that I want to talk about, I didn't think that this needed to be a split decision. I was pretty certain on this one.
I'm glad we actually agree on that, because I wasn't sure what your what your opinion was gonna be on it, but I was pretty adamant on like coming here and saying like I would have given Gamrot the unanimous decision.
Yeah.
Just based off control time alone.
Yeah, like Turner did well throughout the whole fight, but it was like one of those fights where Turner did good, but Gamrot won every round.
Yeah.
Like, or you could argue maybe 2 out of the 3, but I thought the 30-27 wasn't even that unfair.
Well, and that, that's the thing too, because now we can go back to our, which I honestly just like think is ridiculous now, the whole damage versus control time thing, because now it actually is pretty thought provoking about how like just the damage factor in general. It's like, how do you even really quantify damage?
Dominic Cruz's commentary gives some good insight on it.
Control time, there's literally it literally speaks for itself.
Well, the way Cruz would talk about it, he would say like, if someone gets a big cut, for example, that's like when he'll usually pipe up and say like, oh well, that's a big deal, even if it's not in like a bad spot or it was a grazing shot that caused it. Now the judges see that and they're like, okay, he hurt him with that, even if it wasn't like a crazy shot.
Yeah.
But I don't even know. The stats for this fight are close as hell.
And Turner had the knockdown too, which is like, and then that's another thing that's super clear, obviously, when it comes to damage. But like, other than that, it's like,
Them Gamrot took him down on
all it is significant strikes you can really base it off of.
Yeah, I mean, I'll read you the stats and you can tell me what you think of this. So round 1, Jalen Turner outlanded him 12-9, but obviously Gamrot also had 2.5 minutes of control time, 2 for 2 for takedowns. Round 2, Jalen Turner outstruck Gamrot 18-13, so outstruck him in 2 of the 3 rounds, but then also minute 35 of control for Gamrot. And if you're not counting like significant strikes, you're just going by total strikes, he outlanded him 60-19. So that's a big difference, even though Jalen Turner outlanded him in the significant strikes. But then in the last round, Turner outlanded him in significant strikes and total strikes by a thin margin. But Gamrot also had 2 minutes and 51 seconds of control time.
Yeah.
It's a weird fight, man.
I get it too, because it's like, obviously nobody wants to see like a guy laying on another dude. And it's like, it's all about the, exactly. Like, Gamrot's boring or something like that. It was a boring fight because of Gamrot. Like, sure, fair, but you still have to base it off of what, at least with the judges, obviously, you have to base it off of what is you're seeing right in front of you, and that's what happened. Gamrot dominated the whole fight in terms of control time, and didn't get completely outclassed.
He was getting outstruck by the numbers, but it wasn't by a far enough margin that it really a crazy thing.
Once again, I get the sentiment, but that doesn't mean that you have to sometimes the judging just comes off just so emotional, and it's like you can't be in the judge's seat and then have your own feeling and stuff take over how you're gonna decide a fight.
I will say this too, though, when you look at it strictly from the statistical standpoint, and you see that Gamrot had 6 minutes and 52 seconds of control time, so we'll just go 7 minutes for argument's sake.
Yeah,
that's almost half of the fight.
Yeah,
which is a big deal, whether people like it or not. And me and you, I think, are proponents of how damage does matter, but in this sense, it wasn't enough to really matter that much. And when, like I said, you look at the numbers,
other than the one knockdown that Jalen Turner got.
Exactly, and that's probably the round that the one, I think it was one judge gave him 29-28. That's the one that I agreed with.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Sometimes it really is. Yeah, it's you get it in the way. Once again, you get where the judges' heads are at and all that, but also still,
you might need to be drug tested.
It's
at the same time.
Sometimes it comes off as dude, do these judges have their own money on these fights?
Do you think that USADA drug test the judges?
They really should start. I mean, I think that would be fair.
But they should test them for normal street narcotics, not PEDs.
Yeah, dude. Put these judges in the USADA pool, and we'll see how many of them pull out.
We'll see if Chris Lee gets a USADA jacket, 50 clean tests. but I don't even know where to go from there. But so we'll just move on to the next fight.
Yeah.
So let's just talk a little bit about Bo Nickal, dude. How about that? He put on a show in that fight. And I made some money off him, dude. Last minute, I bet that Bo Nickal first round submission money. Cha-ching! And Bo Nickal won me that. I was hyped. But just back to the technical side of it, though. Man, actually, before we do get into the fight, I guess, technically and how just good Bo is, what did you think of that low blow stuff that Jamie Pickett was talking about? Do you take any stock into that?
I mean, I thought it was pretty clear that the low blow was there and the fight should have been paused. Not to say that the result would have been any different, but and then also too how I kind of I guess was perceiving I think Bo Nickal that wrestling is gonna come in full form, but it's gonna come throughout the length of the fight, and I feel like that with this time, with that low blow happening, it's right there, obviously right there in the referee not pausing the fight, right there is where the opening came, and it does raise question. It's you can't we'll just never know. It's you can't definitively say obviously with some crystal ball or whatever oh, this is how it's gonna go and all that it's clear what we saw was the low blow happened, and then from there, that's where the opening came from Bo, and he got him down, and then Jamie Pickett he kept fighting, credit to Jamie Pickett, still kept giving the effort and all that.
I think with that arm triangle, though, at the end, it was Bo Nickal, because when I was watching it, people were kind of explaining, he wasn't taking his leg out, and it wasn't really that he wasn't doing it, is he wasn't trying to, he wasn't doing the technical thing to get the finish at first, and then he kind of just got it the last second and tapped him pressure, but he still didn't have it, I would say, fully. It was more just the way Pickett kind of turned. It was a weird finish, but at the same time, I think, as you kind of alluded to before, the result, I'm not sure if that would have changed. I think Bo Nickal, given a few tries, would have gotten him to the ground. I think Bo Nickal, with a few tries, gets pretty much anybody at 185 to the ground, just because of how good of a wrestler he is. He's 4-0. That's the other thing, too. People want to overanalyze it because he's this, super hyped up prospect, which he completely deserves. But at the same time, we got to realize that we're dealing with a guy who's had 4 pro fights, and he has all this wrestling experience, but in terms of MMA experience, he needs a little bit more. He trains at ATT, so he'll get more of that. He's training with high-level guys, but I was impressed by him. So
yeah, me too. But you can't. I think it was just weird how because I feel honestly it was just clear enough that you can't ignore it. It happened, and the knee went to the crotch, and
yeah, it's just unfortunate.
Yeah,
I don't really know what you do with it. Hopefully, it doesn't get overturned a no contest. That'd be kind of, I don't know. I wouldn't like that.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, no, I don't think that would be fair. But yeah, it was there, and it was just weird for the ref not to stop the fight.
Yeah, he was pulling that James Krause money on Bo Nickal. So, well, that's the main card, obviously. A bunch of fun fights. We just talked about Bo Nickal really gave a good performance. Shavkat gave a nice performance. The co-main event, one of the craziest upsets already of this year. And then Jon Jones proving why he's the GOAT. But then the prelims were stacked, too. There were so many good fights. Cody No Love came back and got a win. We were talking about this a little bit before the pod, but I wasn't too blown away by it. I still don't love his chances against guys that are in the top 20 at 135. But I think you seem to feel the same way, but we didn't really get too much into it. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel the same way too. I think it's just we're just past that point with Cody Garbrandt, Still, obviously, one of the top bantamweights in the division and stuff. But it's just kind of also just new day and age too. And then obviously, this being his first fight in over a year, so there's clearly things that got shown and maybe even exposed about him.
Has it been more than a year?
Yeah.
That's crazy. When did he fight
year,
Kai? That's gonna
Yeah,
fall.
no, at the end of 21.
Really? That's
Yeah.
nuts.
He didn't fight last year. He had one bout scheduled and it got, I forget who it was with, but he had one bout scheduled last year and it got canceled.
Time flies, man.
And
That's
then
crazy.
the
End of
fight
21.
with Arce too this year
Yeah, that's
got
crazy.
called off.
Yeah, and Ronnie Yaya was the other one you were talking about. He got booked in that fight twice, and it got canceled. Yeah, Carl France was the end of 21. That's nuts, man. It feels like it was sooner than that.
Yeah, we're just past that point with Cody Garbrandt. It was crazy. I think it also speaks to how how deep and talented and how fast bantamweight moves.
The fact that a guy who's 13-9 took a former champion to like the distance and didn't do horrible was pretty impressive. Good for Trevin Jones, honestly, just to put up a good showing against Cody, because that's got to be pretty cool.
You got Cejudo back too.
Oh, so. Dude, I've had enough already, and he hasn't even been back. He hasn't even come back yet. I keep seeing all these all these videos, dude, of him and Aljo with these stupid staged confrontations. Like, neither of these guys help themselves. I hope they know that.
Yeah.
And I like Aljo and Cejudo as fighters.
The classic, you know.
Oh, I'm talking about Aljo too, though. He's not getting a pass on this, dude. Because Aljo's just as cringy with it nowadays with some of the things he does. And I respect that he's leaning into it because he knows that people hate him. But Henry Cejudo, I think, genuinely believes that he's like Chael Sonnen level of a promoter. But no, because not many people are enjoying it. I know I'm not. Did you see their little scuffle, but argument after the UFC 285? It was in like the hall. Yeah, they were talking shit to each other and they were getting separated by security. It was bad, man. I didn't enjoy it. But things like that happen in this sport, and it's for promo, and I understand it. But at the same time...
now Figueiredo is in Division 2. Like, sheesh.
God, yeah, man.
They just keep...
What's he going to be doing?
Yeah, good question.
Like, where do you start him off at 135? You give him like a top 5, top 10. I just don't know what to do with it. That division's crazy. I just don't understand how, like, it used to be lightweight, and now like these guys at 135 are just, they're proving why they're the guys now.
Yeah.
Lightweight's pretty fun too still. But we're going to talk about middleweight next because Dricus du Plessis had a crazy fight with Derek Brunson. This was one of the ones that I kind of wanted to get into a little bit. Because Derek Brunson's lack of cardio kind of came back to haunt him in this one. I feel like I haven't seen that come back to him in a while. But he started off so strong with the wrestling, but then round 2, it seemed like midway through, he just ran the gas completely.
Yeah, it seemed like, you know, du Plessis just kind of like, you know, was expecting everything that Derek Brunson was going to give to him, and he had to answer for it every single time. And the striking too from du Plessis just overwhelmed Derek Brunson.
I liked his corner throwing in the towel.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it was clear. Like, Derek, he was done. Like, they had to do it. Some corners just are too like stubborn and stuff.
That's what I'm saying. This needs to happen more in MMA. Like, when a dude's done, he's done. You know.
Yeah.
We don't need this guy to fall onto the stool.
Yeah, you gotta know your fighter. Like, you have a whole entire training camp with them.
Yeah, this guy's got a family. Like, we don't want Blonde Brunson getting messed up.
Yeah, on a personal level too, you know.
I'm a big fan of Brunson. I like him a lot. It sucks that he lost. I like the pose that he's always doing to show off the... God, I'm so tired. I can't think. But you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'll probably put in a picture just to show the people exactly the pose that I'm talking about, because he is well known for it.
Yeah.
So, more prelims. Flyweight fight I was thinking about. Amanda Ribas looked pretty good against Vivian Araujo. I wasn't expecting that to go as well for her, but...
Dude, she's on a roll. She's on a roll. And it's only a matter of time before she gets someone in this top 5. And then, you know, we'll see if she can really threaten Zhang Weili for the title. But...
You mean, it's not really, Grasso now. Or what? Wait, no, this is 125.
Well, this was 120. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Because I was thinking to myself because Ribas was at strawweight.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is 125.
Okay, that makes sense. I was looking at her strawweight ranking.
Yeah, I don't even know.
9, so.
She's still ranked at strawweight. I remember the UFC rankings just did not want to come up when I pulled it up.
Those would be really useful right now.
But... Yeah, so for you guys, I'm just going to pull a Chael. I tried to access the UFC rankings, but I don't know how to access them, so therefore they don't exist. You ever heard him say that? That's like one of my favorite ongoing jokes that he said.
Dude,
He
I
says,
love
"I
it.
I know there are rankings, but I do not know where to find them."
There's a Chael Sonnen quotable for everything.
Yeah, man,
We
I miss him.
appreciate that.
He's the best. I wish there was a guy like him still fighting. I guess it's Colby, if anything. That's like the closest thing, or Connor. But none of those guys would exist without Uncle Chael. But the last fight that I really wanted to talk about on the prelims was Ian Gary, man, versus Song Kanan.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, I've been definitely critical of him at times on this channel, but he impressed me in this one a lot, especially coming back from that knockdown in the first round, just to overcome that and then finish him just as brutally as he did with that combination. So fast. I was impressed.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, but for me it's like, because of the knockdown, because of how things what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say not bleak obviously, but
It got a little hairy, I think that's what you're trying to say.
Because of that, I just felt like this was once another no, not to say a layup or anything. Kanan Song's a very sound fighter, but this is just another fight for Ian Gary, set up for him to, okay, go put on a show for everybody, give everybody that feel good feel. This, guy to rally, this brash, cocky guy to rally around.
At least he didn't copy Connor verbatim this time. I respect that he's evolving as he goes on.
Other than the Billy Strut at the end.
I can respect that, though. The Billy Strut was awesome. There's a lot of people in a lot of sports who've pulled that off.
But, yeah, it really, even just coming in, all right, there's another fight for Ian Gary, another showcase fight for Ian Gary to just display, for the UFC to just keep, pushing and, keep making him one of the faces, up-and-coming faces of the company. And so, yeah, I just came off this another fight, that, I think it was pretty clear he was gonna win convincingly in. And then that first round, it's just, kind of just raised questions. It's is he even ready for this fight? Is he overlooking Kanan Song or whatever? But, yeah, fair play to him. Another very, once again, he still got the job done in convincing fashion. That's how you got to do it. And still got to see more. I'm not 100% sold.
I'll say this, though, in his defense, and this is, true coming from me, considering I didn't like him at first, so for me to give him some praise, he did some good. I think that part of him getting clipped though too was just an overconfidence in a way, because he was landing pretty well before it, and he just seemed to be over aggressive, and then he got caught coming in. So what I'm trying to say is, I don't know if that was really a lack of skill rather than a lack of discipline in that particular scenario, but I agree with you. I don't think he's going to be fighting for the title anytime soon. So hopefully they just keep giving him the next step up.
UFC definitely wants him to one day. So
yeah, John Anik was like, maybe we will see a top 15 opponent in his future. I'm like, yeah, maybe, hopefully not in the near future, but give him maybe another fight and see where he goes. Welterweight's deep. You can find someone to get him. So with that, though, I don't know if there was any other prelims that you wanted to bring up before I get into the last thing I wanted to talk about.
No, we're good.
Well, I guess
card, of course, once again, with a lot of surprises, definitely, obviously,
for sure,
and just exciting finishes, exhilarating finishes, and all that. Good build, and
Well, let's talk about exhilarating finishes, because it is March 5th, the day we record this. We are 6 days away from March 11th, the boxing debut of the main Card Tiz.
Yep.
How you feeling, man? It's fight week.
Yeah, well, we're finally here. I still feel just as confident and ready to go as I have been throughout this entire camp, with even with the moving parts and all that have come along the way. This fight, we're now going to be fighting at 145, a new opponent, and still just gotta put my head down and just keep working, and just super excited. Can't wait for it already. We're already here, so it is crazy too how time flies as well. But I definitely feel way more prepared than I did on day one. So
yeah, it's cool. I was hyped too when we were doing the sprints the other day in the parking lot, because I remember we had the goal in the beginning to have those long 30-second sprints, and then like, now we're getting towards the fight and we hit that. So you're peaking at like the perfect time. And I think that's awesome, and I think your opponent he's in for it, man.
Yeah, yeah, just and then just still getting the cardio to come around too. I'm right after this actually, I'm gonna go for a run tonight. Down from my house, which is little right over here by here, and then down to the dead end. So
oh yeah, sure.
So
yeah, a lot of people don't know what you're talking about. I know. It is a long run for those people who have no idea.
Yeah, just want to keep myself active and keep myself, just keep the eye on the prize, pretty much. So
yeah, man, I'm excited for your debut, man. I think it's gonna be a show. You already got some people talking about coming out. Hopefully, we get even more in the next week. Obviously, but this is today when we record this, it's Sunday, but you guys usually see the pods on Tuesday. And if things go according to plan, main Card Tiz episode 2 is going to be released on Wednesday. Not going to be as long as the first video. It's just like a couple short things, more of like a check-in type of episode. And then after the fight, be ready for main Card Tiz episode 3, the finale. And let's hope our guy gets it done next weekend.
He will.
Hell
he will
yeah,
get
man.
it done. So don't worry about that.
It's gonna be fun to talk about it too next week.
Oh yeah, I know, right? Isn't that crazy? How this is the last podcast before it. It's pretty awesome. So
hell yeah, man!
Can't wait to chat about it.
I'm excited. Let's hold up those shorts real quick for the crew, for the people watching. Still at the end.
Jimmy gave y'all the little taste last the power slap episode.
Look at that main Card Tiz.
Let's go a little more in-depth look at the design and all of that.
It is pretty sweet.
Obviously on the trim with the main Card Tiz and the logo on the back end as well. So, yeah, appreciate you and Jimmy once again for coming through with this.
How many people are coming into the fights with custom trunks?
Yeah, I know, right? No, that's a main Card Tiz special right there.
Hell yeah, man! And he's gonna be opening up the main card. For those who don't know, so if you guys are coming out, you guys will watch the main card start off with a bang. And I don't know if you have any parting message for the people before we go.
We just talked about it all and all that. As far as my fight goes and all that, March 11th, mark it down. I got somebody to knock out, and that's that. Actually, there was one thought. I thought the judging in the USADA conversation was hilarious. There's one guy that you probably can't test, like definitely can't test. That's Mr. Douglas Crosby.
I knew that was coming. You know what's funny, dude? Oh my god! So we talked about the Getting the Whole story in that one podcast a while back, and when Ariel was interviewing Chael, did you catch the Doug talk? He says they were talking about something about MMA judging.
Are you talking about the one that Chael Sonnen was in studio for?
Yes.
No, wait.
Yeah, it was like very quick. Like Ariel mentioned something about they were talking about something with judging, and then Ariel said he goes, "How are you with Douglas?" And then he goes, "He won't talk to me." I was like, dude, getting the whole drama. For those of you guys who don't know what Getting the Hole is, just look that up on YouTube and watch Chael Sonnen tell one of the most interesting stories in MMA history. Or watch our podcast describing it. Yeah. I'll put that in in the description or something.
What a polarizing figure.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's only one Chael Sonnen, that's for sure. He's the greatest. They don't call you the greatest of all time. They call you Chael P.